Now, he's been building his status as Turkey's strongman for years. Now, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has won a new 5-year term, complete with sweeping new powers. With nearly all votes counted, Erdogan secured 53% of Sunday's vote, while his AK party and its nationalist allies secured an outright majority in parliament. His main rival, the secularist Muharrem İnce, conceded defeat but warned the new presidential system would lead to one-man rule. While the OSCE, a European rights watchdog, said the opposition was denied equal conditions for campaigning. So what does all this mean for Turkey? Well, Turkish journalist and commentator Michael Daventry joins me now from London. Good to have you on the programme. Thank you for joining us. Now, Erdogan has been consolidating his power slowly over years. Now that this vote is done, what is actually going to change on the ground for the Turkish people?
Well, what's changed is the powers that were brought in the referendum that took place almost a year ago, or a little over a year ago. What we've got now is a sweeping change of powers that will now be going in the hands of the Turkish president, in the hands of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He'll be able to pass certain laws by decree. He'll be able to pick his ministers without having to have them approved by Parliament. There's no vote of confidence anymore, and he has the power to appoint large numbers of judges and prosecutors as well. So Turkey really has shifted from what we'd consider a European-style parliamentary democracy to an executive presidency, and it will become a lot more autocratic than it has been so far.
And what about for the opposition? We've seen a charismatic leader in the form of İnce, something we haven't seen for many years, for possibly over a decade. Despite the fact that dissent was suppressed, about almost half of Turkish voters still came out to vote against Erdogan. What happens now to this opposition?
Well, for the opposition, this is a long game. You're absolutely right to say that the opposition did very well. They were encouraged by it, but they were expecting to force Erdogan to a second round of voting, in a similar sense to how in the French election, Emmanuel Macron only won in the second round of voting. That didn't happen in Turkey. The opposition are drawing strength from that, they say. But also, I think it's notable that the opposition have actually accepted that they've lost. They didn't concede defeat in last year's referendum, where there were some very serious allegations of voting fraud that took place. But the OSCE said that the campaign was vibrant and there was a choice, but that there was the lack of conditions for the opposition. This time the opposition say they accept the result. And the opposition's candidate, Muharrem İnce, said that it's important to accept that you've lost if you want to believe that you're competing in a genuine democracy. So from that point of view, the opposition have a lot of building to do, but they're determined to make this system work for them too.
Well, it's interesting that the opposition says that, given that some foreign agencies are saying, have expressed concern about the fairness of that election. Airtime given to Erdogan's party, much more than it was, for example, to İnce's. How fair, or how much can we actually trust those election results, do you think?
Well, for the last couple of elections, if you don't think about last year's referendum, elections in Turkey have generally been free but unfair. That's to say that the government has had all the resources that government and the states can provide to you. It has a very loyal media. About 90% of Turkey's main television stations, radio stations, and newspapers, they're all in President Erdogan's lot. The opposition don't get to squeeze their way in. So from that point of view, it's definitely an unfair election, but the vote that Turkish people cast at the ballot box, apart from a few discrepancies here and there, is genuinely what the Turkish people wanted to vote for. That didn't happen at last year's election, a referendum, where the rules were changed during voting day itself. This time around, the opposition say they're accepting it. But, of course, it's a hugely unbalanced field. The fear is now that under President Erdogan's 5-year executive presidency, that the balance will be even more tilted towards him and against the opposition. So Turkey is definitely one to watch for the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Erdogan could rule for the next 10 years if he was re-elected. Michael Daventry, thank you very much for joining us from London.
Thank you.